Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Elemental. This is the latest Pixar film released just this summer, and it's an hour and 47 minutes long. It's a Pixar film, yet it's kind of one of those Pixar films that I don't know if a lot of people saw. I think it was well received to anybody who actually saw it. I enjoyed it. It's technically the last movie I saw this summer. Yeah, I think I even saw it in 3D, which I haven't seen a movie in 3D in forever. I'm pretty sure. It was like the end of July. I haven't seen anything since then. I saw like an anime, but that's not anything new as a 25-year-old film. But this is this is Pixar's latest film that it feels like they almost didn't promote, and like they didn't promote it when it came out, and then they put it back in theaters just this past few weeks before it was released on digital and disc and Disney Plus, and then it appeared on Disney Plus without me realizing it was being added. So otherwise I would have done this film already by now. I don't know, I would have done this like Wednesday when it came out. But hey, I'm finally getting around to it, and I gotta tell you, I really love this film. I absolutely love this film. I'm not going to spoil anything major for you, but I'm going to give you an idea of what the film is about, even though the trailer exists and you've probably seen the trailer. I don't know if it necessarily gives you a fully accurate idea of what is all that's going on inside this film. There's a lot of different themes, a lot of different, I don't know, again, these films like this, meant for not just children. We got to get away from the idea that only cartoons are made for children, but for families, certainly. But for adults, there's messages that are only going to become more clear as you are an adult. Kids can certainly enjoy this for the bright colors and the funny characters and the silly action, silly scenes and the big action and all that stuff. The kids can appreciate it on a more elemental level, but us adults can appreciate it on so many more. And the great thing about this is incredibly rewatchable beyond just the cast and everything else. By the way, Leah Lewis plays Ember, our main character, along with I'm gonna say his name wrong, Mamoudou Athie plays Wade, and they are a couple right here, Ember and Wade. Yeah, they're a couple. Yeah, but water and fire don't mix. Yeah, that's kind of one of the central concepts in this film. This is from the start. Okay, yes, it's a romance. And don't let that word put you off. You're like, oh, I don't want to watch a romance about fire and water, blah, blah, blah. It's a high concept. No, put that aside. This is very much an immigrant story. And it's about generations. It's about family. It's about people making sacrifices for a better life for their children, for generations to come. And the inherent distrust we have of those of the cultures we come from, or the cultures that other people come from. We can see that today, even in our real world. What we do is we follow Bernie and Cinder, a couple of fire people who, in the first moments of the film, I'm going to spoil this generally, it's not going to be in detail, they move to this new world, Elemental City, where it's a melting pot. Yeah, there's no mistake in some of the terminology that might have inspired this story. By the way, co-written and directed by Peter Sohn. You might know him as one of the creative people within Pixar himself for many, many years, but he's also the voice of Russell in Up. Yeah. So, yeah, he's done the other voices since, but he's most notably, he played Russell in Up. So he's graduated to directing and co-writing an immigrant story and a romance, and throw a little bit of action in there. And but it also has this nice little, I'm going to throw this in here while I'm thinking of it, has this nice piece to it where it feels very Studio Ghibli, a little bit, Ghibli, however you say it, Miyazaki type thing, where there isn't a villain. this is one of those kind of films where there is not a villain in the story. It is very much characters living their lives and finding conflict within themselves, with each other, but nobody's a bad guy. There's nobody just twirling a mustache or, working against the system to take everything down and snuff out our heroes. No, there's none of that. But beyond the inherent xenophobia or there's cultural divides. There's divides between the rich and poor. There is it's all that stuff. There's a lot going on, but it's not overwhelming at all. It's not like, oh, I can't keep track of it. No, you can keep track of everything because it is at the core just about these two, and everything is sort of borne out in their interactions, and they don't like each other when they meet each other, and the fact that how they meet each other is probably the worst possible way anybody could meet somebody. But yeah, it's at the core is that this is them and their extended families and what they have done, specifically Ember's, their family has done to give her the life she has, however meager it might be, running a store in Firetown, a sub part of the city that belongs to the fire people. There's a water people area, and there's a like a land and earth people area, but it's basically represented by trees and shrubs and stuff like that. And there fire, water, and air, cloud people. There's cloud puffs. That's a derogatory term. And fireball, I think, is another derogatory term. We all have derogatory terms, even in fictional universes like this. They all sort of coexist in this land, but it's understood that the fire people are usually seen as the most dangerous. We can see this in a literal sense. They are pretty dangerous by nature, and they come in conflict or come in contact with anybody else. Well, it creates a problem, so they kind of keep to themselves. And we have neighborhoods like this all over the United States, at least, when it comes to Chinatown or Little Ethiopia, or LA itself, where I'm at, has a number of small different communities within it. New York City is the same thing. You're going to find that in more metropolitan urban areas, and that's understandable. It's just way people cluster amongst their own people. But there's nothing inherently wrong with that, finding camaraderie and family and community amongst the people you connect with the most. But it's when those communities come into conflict with one another by prejudices that just are born out of generalizations. There's stuff that's just the way they are. That water, like Dad is not a big fan. Bernie, by the way, didn't give them their own names because they came to this land and people who were checking them in didn't understand what they were saying, so they just gave him a general name, which is very much like Ellis Island for a lot of people who came from other countries at a time when the gates were open easily and people could just emigrate here however they pleased from wherever they wanted to for whatever reason. And we did not have so much immigration laws and everything else. But Bernie was like, water, you know how they are, because, well, he's not a big fan of this guy. He's not a big fan of Wade. So they're like, Ember is like, Dad, his name's Wade. He's a person himself. He is not just a general type of person or race or culture or whatever else. So that's discussed in a non-offensive way. But it's still that kind of divide that people create for themselves between other cultures and other people, whether how they talk, how they look, how they eat, where they live, their income level, and things like that. How we create prejudices against each other for no apparent reason other than, well, that's what my parents taught me, or that's what I understand. And I've never really looked outside of my own culture, so why would I know or care what anybody else thinks? That's just the way things are, right? And yeah, it's happening on all sides. It's it's happening all over. So in this movie and beyond, in this real world. And yeah, it's meant to be a lesson. It's meant to be a message. Yeah, there's not going to be a situation where there's not going to be a message in this, but it's not bonk over the head. I mean, yes, it's obvious, but it's not like, you got to think this way. But it is very much like, can you see reflection in this? I've seen myself reflected in some of these things. I've seen reflection of others in this as well. But what's great about this film, beyond the characters, beyond how everybody interacts, and the story that's being told, is the world itself. And I wish this film probably would have been more successful. They would have fast-tracked a video game or something. It was super high resolution, AAA level game, and just be able to, I just want to go walk through this city. Because there's points in this film where the detail of the background, even just in a room, is so realistic. It contrasts itself from the very animated-looking characters in the foreground. There's moments where I saw like something floating in the water, and I thought, well, that's real. That's a real live film scene. It's all animated. And the great thing is that there's moments when you see Ember running through Elemental City, and she gets a first look outside of her own neighborhood for the most part, or she's looking around. We get to see Elemental City, and I wish I could just freeze frame every single shot that they created. The visual design people, God, I know there's more to it. There's so much detail that is never going to be appreciated. It is an absolutely beautiful film for this sake. I want to freeze frame every single moment of this background. I want to dive deeply into this city. Every neighborhood, every tall building, every park and body of water, the trains, everything is so detailed. And it's, yes, beyond the traditions of the people and the languages and the music and everything else, it's all meant to sort of refer to different cultures in our real world, whether it's Chinese or Middle Eastern or just wherever. This is definitely meant to be an immigration story from other cultures to an America of sorts, to a melting pot, where we have so many countries where it's populated sort of by a single race of people for the most part. I know that's a weird generalization. It's really, after saying all this, but it's, for the most part, the cultures, and even some of the subcultures, are populated by a similar culture of people. In America here, you can be an American. Yes, you can be an American and be any one of those other world cultures. Bring their traditions, bring your voices, bring your ideas, your religions, whatever you are, whoever you are, you can bring it to America, and you can be that and an American at the same time. That is the great thing about America, and this is very much that immigration story. It's very much Peter Sohn's story. And there's a thank you at the very end of the film, after the credits, to his parents and so many others that were important to him and the others in the creation of this story, which is why I feel it's so fully underappreciated. I think everybody who watches this, whether you're a kid or an adult, you're going to get something out of it, whether it's just pure joy of just the silliness of Wade and the fieriness of Ember, and how their story comes together. Yeah, it's a romance. It's not like we're gonna see people don't get along. They're from two different worlds. Yeah, we've seen that type of story forever. Like, that's been told 1 billion times, but it's told one more way here, in a different way, and it's pretty dang good. So I'm going to tell you right now, if I haven't already told you at the beginning, after all this, that this is absolutely worth your time. If you were sort of like holding off on it, like, it came in theaters and left immediately, it mustn't be very good, nobody saw it, like you didn't know anybody who saw it, I think this is one of those films that you don't want to necessarily just put on the background while you're like vacuuming or something or cooking dinner. This is something you want to look at and fully appreciate. I did play it on a screen separate from what I was working on in front of me, but I didn't get a whole lot of work done. And it, honestly, put it on the biggest, most colorful, most high-resolution screen you've got. Watch it all the way through, enjoy it, and then watch it again and just freeze frame some of those city moments. If you appreciate that kind of thing, to me, it's breathtaking. I seeing it again even was just, there's so much minuscule detail in this that's just never going to be appreciated to the degree that it should be. And I mean, we saw something like this in Zootopia. We're building out Zootopia and seeing all the different cultures there. I mean, that was definitely a pretty much an inspiration or a template of sorts for the people behind the scenes in creating all this. And because there's a lot of stuff going on, so it's not like we haven't seen this before, but patterning it to these four main elements is pretty breathtaking. So that's my favorite part of the film, beyond the humor and the storytelling and everything else, how it reflects in our real world. To me, it's even just the background. You could literally wipe all the characters away, not that you'd want to, but you could literally take all the people away, and I wish I could just click on a nice big monitor and just go through the entire, or just VR. If you could create a VR world where I could walk through this world, Disney, Pixar, if you could create a world where I could just walk in and out of shops and ride the train and do all this stuff, I would buy a VR headset just for that. It's got to be high resolution. It can't be all grainy 480p. It's got to be good. So, but yeah, that said, let's pick tomorrow's thing.
87.
Did I say I think you should watch this? It's been one of my favorite films of the year, and yes, I know I stopped watching films. No, I haven't gone to the movies as much, but I've watched a lot of stuff since, and it's one of my favorite things. Hey, 87, really? Okay, 87. It's another movie. And we are finally finishing out this live-action trilogy of Disney Channel films. I have seen the others, and even seen some of the animated stuff that's associated with it. I don't think I've seen all of it yet. And there might be a fourth one on the way, but this is the third. I'm going to finally be watching Descendants 3. So, there we go. Gonna get a little song and dance with the villain kids. The kids are villains. What could happen next with the Descendants? It doesn't matter. No, it's been a while. All right, Descendants 3 is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.